joining us today on the Man Blitz. I'd just like to take a moment to remind you to follow us on Twitter at Man Blitz. Visit us at www.3manblitz.com. You can listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Breaker. And don't forget to view us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. Thanks, guys. Hey, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Man Blitz College Edition. I'm Andrew, and with me, as always, your boy Kwesi and Jeremy.
Yes, what's up?
All right, so we're doing this episode a little bit different. We're gonna rapid fire at you. So, but before any of that takes place, a little drinky poo. Drinky poo.
Kwesi's been hitting the sauce with me. Andrew, you've been getting a little weak lately, drinking too.
You know what? I want to find us a beer sponsor. So I'm showing them that I like to drink beer. I think you guys will like to drink beer too.
He's been drinking root beer.
Root beer. Hard soda. Hard lemonade. Anyway, so let's roll on into this shit, boys. Jeremy, I'm hitting you first.
Let's go.
Does Clemson survive another week without Trevor Lawrence against Notre Dame?
All right, so here we go. This is what I've got to say about this game. Simple answer is yes. Okay. Clemson is not just Trevor Lawrence. They survived against Boston College. I understand. Boston College is not Notre Dame. I understand. What I think most people don't understand about Notre Dame is that they are their competition that they've beat this year is a combined 9-22 against FBS opponents. That's not like they're beating the best of the best in the ACC, right?
Yeah.
Clemson has had several top 3 recruiting classes. Are they the same team without Trevor Lawrence? Absolutely not. But their defense is still good. They still have Travis Etienne. He's one of the best backs in the country. And, hey, that rookie quarterback, and forgive me because I'm going to just butcher his name, DJ Uiagalelei.
Oh, wow. That's some hamburger meat right there.
It is. I mean, I can only assume he's a line. It's Uiagalelei.
That's some pastrami slices right there.
You guys do better, right? I mean, he was 30 of 41 for 342 yards and 2 touchdowns against Boston College. Wow. They shut Boston College out in the second half. So this game wasn't the game that it looks like. When you see 34-28, you think, oh, man, they just survived, which in score they did. But in reality is they had a little bit of trouble going forward in the first half. They figured it out. They shut them down on defense. Their defense is very good. Trevor Lawrence is, of course, probably the best quarterback in the nation at this point. You can make an argument for a few others, but he is definitely the engine that drives them. But they have so many weapons that they'll be okay. And Notre Dame, I think, is a little overhyped. Yeah. I really do. So on those merits alone and on those arguments, I would say they could probably give Travis Etienne the ball quite a bit and, pass it to him. He was the leading receiver in that Boston College game. He had 7 receptions, 140 yards and a touchdown. He's a do-it-all back. So to me, Notre Dame, it'll be a game a little bit, but I think you'll see him pull away, and it won't even be as close as this Boston College game was. Man,
old Travis Etienne will be a weapon in the NFL. I look forward to seeing him.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say hypothetically that Clemson does lose this game. How does it affect their ranking and their playoff race?
I think first and foremost, it would depend on how they lost. If it was a close game and they lost last possession or they lost by a touchdown or something to that degree, I think you see them fall somewhere from like the 6 to 8 range and give them a chance to really build it back up. If they get blown out, it's a little different because you can only put so much value on one player. Your team cannot be one player. And if they really look at that and, they get blown out because Trevor Lawrence is out with COVID, I think you have to drop them probably more like to the 10, maybe around the 10, if they get blown out. It is Notre Dame, too, so maybe they wouldn't do that no matter what, but they probably should.
I don't know, man. That sounds pretty extreme either way.
Okay. You're probably right. If they dropped them like 3, though, could you imagine? Like, come on, son. Like, they just barely lost, so they dropped to 3, which is a very real possibility. Or if they got blown out. If they got blown out and they dropped to like 4,
Looking at the NCAA right now, and I don't mean to interrupt your whole thing, but looking at the NCAA right now, I don't see man, it's just like 10 dominant teams. I don't know who to pick. No. Maybe 3.
Yeah,
maybe 4.
Yeah.
So to drop them down to 8 is like, what?
I'd say there's 3.
I mean, there's
3 in the rest.
There's Clemson, there's Alabama, and Coastal Carolina. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you ain't gonna say that other team, but yeah, they're in there. Yeah, I think it's 3 in the rest. So
yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of that other team, your team is going to play that other team. So, Kwesi, real quick, man.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel about Jim Harbaugh and the current situation at Michigan?
come on.
We all know Michigan. They lost that tough game to Michigan State.
Okay, let me say this, man. I used to be born in Michigan. Okay, used to. I changed my birth certificate after that game. Okay, I changed it.
Man, that's tough.
Oh, that was tough, man. Not feeling good about Harbaugh. He's been there since 2015. So much hype behind him. Such a great name. We thought it was going to bring some kind of prosperity to the school. And he's going 1-6 against our main rivals, which is Michigan State and Ohio State in the past. And when they were at home, 1-6. That's not good.
Nope.
Let me put this in perspective for recent news. We just again lost against Michigan State, which isn't new. What is new is Michigan State also lost against Rutgers.
Yep.
Rutgers hasn't won a game since they've been in our conference at all. Their first win comes against Michigan State. In the next game, Michigan State beats Michigan, which basically puts us underneath Rutgers. That's called mathematics, man. So that's not a good look at all. It's not a good look at all. And of course, we know we still have Ohio State to come later on in the year. Yep. Our next game is against Indiana, which is ranked 13th right now. And after that, to make it a little bit easier, we go against Wisconsin, who's ranked 10. Yep. So they're not looking good. Our secondary is horrible. They're all the teams are passing over us like fighter jets, just flying over us, and they're looking and applauding as the other teams are going for touchdowns. And I'm talking about these passes were not even Tom Brady spirals. Oh man, he squeezed into a pocket. I'm talking about lobbing it up numerous times on Michigan. And these guys just getting the ball and pushing the defender off and going for touchdowns, not first downs, not 20 yards, touchdowns.
Yep.
It's not. It was disgusting, utterly disgusting, man. Watching that. He is 8-13 against other rivals, which is, I mean, you got Michigan State, you have Ohio State, you have Penn State, what's that? Wisconsin and Penn State. It's all in that. 8-13 against those teams since he's been in the league. That's not good. In a conference that is known, you know, I would say that Ohio State and Michigan are the face of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And we've destroyed that. You know, we haven't been representing that at all. But we're 25-1 against the other teams, which it will make it. That's how our season always starts off pretty good, and we're like, oh yeah, they're gonna be in the playoffs. They're gonna be great. They're gonna be slap. Yep. Ohio State, and you know we always play them at the end of the year, and so we're sitting at in a bowl game sucking our thumb, and then get blown out by whoever team that is. So it's unfortunately time for Harbaugh to go. But what will happen is he will not go as far as fire him in the middle of the season. They will respectfully let him go. So it will be him bowing out at the end of the season or a mutual thing. But it will be a passing, but they won't make it disrespectful like, we're going to fire you. They won't do that. They have too much respect for that. Somebody to bring in the thoughts that's out there is a PJ Fleck from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's done amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing job.
And a Pat Campbell from Iowa State, which Iowa State's pretty dominant right now too. They're always pretty good. But for Harbaugh, he did have a lot of transfer quarterbacks. He's going to be a quarterback coach. He did have a lot of transfer quarterbacks to come in. But again, still nobody was ever able to, produce anything. You have this Joe Milton right now.
Yep.
Looked decent in first game, looked like boo-boo the second game. Constantly running for his life, throwing it up. It just wasn't, the only thing that was helping them is the front line of Michigan. I'll give them that much credit, but anybody else in that team was looking garbage.
Yeah, I want to weigh in a little bit. I did watch a good majority of this game, believe it or not, Kwesi, because of you. I wanted to watch this game. And Joe Milton did not impress, and he threw the ball 51 times.
I didn't even know that. Yeah.
51 times, dude.
Yeah.
For 300 yards, it was an average of 5.9 yards per attempt. Okay. But what I was looking at is where is Michigan's running game? The leading rusher was, Joe Milton, 12 carries, 59 yards. Where the hell is the rest of the team on offense? And I looked up at the defense and I kept seeing that Lombardi kid just throwing these deep passes, and I'm wondering, like,
you see those passes?
Got it.
So when I'm speaking of, you're talking about like, man, this wasn't like,
no,
Brady passes or Rodgers passes. This was just throwing it up for you, like in the backyard, throwing it up.
Yeah,
and these dudes are catching it and running.
And here's the thing. Here's the stat line. Okay, Rocky Lombardi, he was 17 to 32. So he threw the ball 32 times. He only completed 17, and it was for 323 yards. 17 passes for 323, 3 touchdowns, no picks. That's ridiculous.
It's like Michigan had midgets out there for cornerbacks, man.
Okay, we're moving on.
I can't say midgets.
I would pay to see that.
But they had their hands up though. But they were still midgets. You know what I'm talking about?
I think, it's just, I don't know. They're not gonna like what they saw on tape.
Oh, Jeremy, let's talk about the hated Crimson Tide. What do you make of the Mac Jones phenomenon, and what comparisons would you make to Joe Burrow, if any? Because I'm hearing them.
First of all, I would just like to say, Andrew, do you hate me? Why do you make me talk about the Alabama quarterback being like Joe Burrow?
You've seen this firsthand, as have I.
Yeah, I've seen it. He looks fantastic. So, the Joe Burrow comparison, his stats really are very similar to this point in the season. They just completely manhandled Mississippi State. Mississippi State's looked like garbage ever since past week 1. They've not won, and they look like just garbage. But Mac Jones, man, he does look good. And, a lot of it you kind of have to take with a grain of salt, because Alabama really is they just do everything so well, and it just makes me want to vomit. It really does. But their offensive line's fantastic. He has a clean pocket to throw from, and he's throwing to some of the best athletes in college football. I mean, even without Jalen Waddle, he's still throwing to some of the best athletes out there. And, he just tosses it down the field. Now, I will say this. He's very accurate. He throws a good ball. Against Mississippi State, he was 24-31, 291, 4 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he plays a good, clean game. But, yeah, I think the good question to ask, and maybe even a better question to ask, is how does he look as a pro prospect? Because that's what everybody wants to know, right? And as of right now, I mean, he's definitely a pocket passer. He ain't moving around. He ain't running out. Joe Burrow could move around a little bit. Mac Jones.
Well, I will say, and I saw this firsthand when watching some of their plays, his pocket awareness, his presence in the pocket is very good. He will step out of tackles. He knows like where in the pocket he needs to step up into to make his throws. And that's invaluable when it comes to rating a quarterback.
And I can tell you something from watching a lot of football. When you have a good offensive line and you can watch a lot of tape, which a lot of good quarterbacks, even bad quarterbacks, they watch a lot of tape. They're not dumb. They understand what's going on. And they have good pocket presence. It comes from a lot of film study. And then you have to understand pre-snap what people are doing. And he does that. He does it well. And he has a lot of trust in his teammates around him. And it shows up. And, he has a lot of faith, and he can break down the team. So that's why I think he'll be a good pro prospect. as far as Joe Burrow, I do see him throwing some good balls, but I've yet to see him really throw people open, which is what I love to see about Joe Burrow. He always threw where you're like, oh, that dude's covered. No, it didn't matter. He put it on a place where only his receiver could catch it. And the only place where they did catch it, and Mac Jones is just having to throw it up. It's a good ball, but they're getting behind the safeties, and I've yet to see him really be tested to championship caliber. So I would say that it's a little too early to say that he is that Joe Burrow caliber type quarterback, because he's tearing it up right now with an offensive line in the NFL, throwing a ton. I don't know if Mac Jones would have the same success, but I do think that he is on that path.
No matter what all the baby experts say, the perfect way to care for your baby is your own.
I had an ad pop up. I had an ad pop up on a internet page I'm on. And
are we charging them?
Out of nowhere, I didn't refresh it or nothing. I just decided to talk about diapers or some shit.
We're charging them, right?
So, yeah.
Wow.
Whatever.
Kwesi, right out the bill. Right out the bill. Okay, moving on. Kwesi, we had another big situation going on in the Big 12. What do you think about the current situation in this conference and the fact that Texas just beat Oklahoma State, who was their only playoff contention team?
I love the Big 12, and I'm saying that I can say there's a legitimate debate that this is the best conference, and I'm saying that.
Kwesi.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Okay.
I'm saying it's only because probably within the past.
Sorry.
We don't care about Allstate, Jeremy.
They're just popping up all of a sudden. I don't know. Your fault.
Probably in the past 10 years, each one of these teams has probably been mentioned in the top 10, besides Kansas. Each one of these teams.
Okay. I see where you're coming from. I feel you.
Now, these teams all are teams you do not want to play again, except for Kansas. All these teams you do not want to play, that they can all beat you in any second, any time. But Oklahoma, again, as the big as the SEC, as the SEC always like to say, man, we've won championships. Oklahoma State got 2 Heisman Trophy winners and could have had a third one. Oklahoma, work with me.
I'm working with you.
It
looks like they might have one. They could have one this year.
You see what I'm saying? So if you want to be shallow enough to talk like that, but they could have. Texas has been pretty dominant, but they kind of fell off the past couple of years. Kansas State has always been that mediocre, strong team. Iowa State's always been tough. Texas has never been a team you want to mess with. People scoop up their coaches all the time and scoop up and copy how they play. They're high-powered offense. They copy there all the time. So again, that's my shallow debate for the Big 12, and I do not like the Big 12, but it's my shallow debate for. Even Baylor's been very tough.
Yeah, that's true. They've been good.
TCU should have been in the first playoffs.
Yeah.
So I can go on and on.
My big question for the Big 12 has always been almost like that. Where's the beef commercial? Where's the defense? Where's the defense?
Well, you know what? Normally I would be right there with you on that. But as college football evolves, I mean, we've seen Nick Saban in an interview a couple weeks back comparing his offense to Georgia's defense. You saw the statistically best defense in the country versus statistically the best offense in the country in the same game. And offense just wins every time. The good offense will put you in a situation where you cannot cover. And I mean, you're stretching the field, then okay, we gotta worry about the pass. Then you run the ball down their throats. I mean, like it's the game's favoring offense, and I think I can excuse the Big 12's lack of defense a little bit more just because their offenses are so high powered. I mean, I see it.
Any conference, I mean, any teams, I will put any of these teams up against pretty much any of these teams up against
Kansas.
Anybody except for Ohio State, the top three, Alabama. Yeah. Other than that, I'll give them a legitimate chance.
Well, I think top to bottom, you have a legitimate argument that they could compete with any other conference. But I think it always goes back to who is your top ones in the conference. And the fact is that they never really have that one team that solidifies themselves at the top.
Well, I think that's the point.
Playoffs, they never really do it.
That's the point Kwesi's trying to make, though. You're talking about the team that solidifies itself at the top. Like, it rotates every couple of years with this conference.
Well, they cannibalize themselves, and they shuffle. And this year, it's in such a way where they may not make it.
That's the same argument that people speak of the SEC. Oh, man, we're beating ourselves, so that's why our record looks so bad. No.
It does. Well, I mean, you can always make that, but when they get to the playoffs, they get it done. That's the difference. Is when they get to the playoffs, they don't get it done, or they don't make it to the playoffs.
When they get to the playoffs, it's the same teams.
And they lose.
Big 12. All right, guys. So this was interesting so far, but we pride ourselves on being focused on SEC here. Seeing as how that's what a lot of our fans are coming here for. So I'm going to give you a new segment of the show. We just did it in our pro video where Kwesi was moderating, and it's called it's like a punt pass segment, and what we're calling it punt or go for it, I think is what we ended up settling on. So I'm going to rattle off the 14 SEC teams, and we are going to punt, which means we're going to just skip the team, nothing to say. What you see is what you get, or go for it. Hey, I've got something to say here. All right. Gentlemen, I guess we'll start with Kwesi and then we'll go to Jeremy.
Yeah.
Mississippi State.
Punt.
Ole Miss Rebels.
They're doing better than you probably expect, but punt.
Yeah, I mean, I could wax on about a bunch of these teams. I mean, because but I'll also punt.
All right, I think you guys might have something to say about this one. Arkansas Razorbacks.
This is a year of the COVID, so they are the COVID team, which is that wacky team that's actually winning some games. So that's all I got to say about a punt.
I'm going to go for it. I'd like to talk a little bit about Arkansas. Sam Pittman, I don't think you can say enough about what he's done for this team at this moment. Felipe Franks, as much as I don't like that guy because he was a Florida quarterback, he looks way better with Arkansas than he ever did with Florida. And they're just getting it done. I don't think they really have the most talented squad, but I think how they're getting it done is just the will to keep playing or the will to compete, if you will. They seem to just find a way to get it done. And they play Tennessee this week, so that's why I got to go for it because we're barely favored, and I dread to watch the game. But, whatever.
Sam Pittman, man. Sam Pittman, Coach of the Year, baby. And you heard it first here.
That's true.
Okay. LSU Tigers, Kwesi.
Go Tigers.
They're 2-3 right now,
let's talk about them Tigers, man. Let's go for
it. He's going for it. All
right. Definitely not the LSU from last year. A huge disappointment by name. Huge disappointment on paper. People expected a lot out of them. I tried to give them some chances after the first couple games, but they are still losing and definitely not looking, like they're going to turn it around anytime soon. So obviously Odell needs to hand out some more money. That's all I got to say.
Which is going to be hard for them because he's been banned from the facilities. He's not going to be able to hand out anything. So, with LSU, when you talk about them, their offense has looked way better than when that first week when they played Mississippi State. But their defense is still MIA. Where are you? They still have playmakers. They had a lot that left, but they're still supposed to be an LSU squad, which usually traditionally has a good defense. And that defense is not there. I don't know what's going on, but they need to figure it out fast because they're fading.
All right. Number 24, with a record of 4-2, the Auburn Tigers. Punt or go for it?
They're 24?
Yeah.
I'm surprised at that. I thought they weren't even ranked.
Yeah, they shouldn't be. They're garbage.
I'm going to go for it. Bo Nix looked really good this past week. He did. I think they're just dealing with what everybody else has dealt with. They didn't really have much of an offseason to speak of, and they're just going through some stuff.
Does Gus Malzahn have a pass this year?
I mean, he probably does. I don't think any Auburn fan especially likes Gus, the Gus bus. I don't think many people like Gus Malzahn at all. But, who do you turn to? And when you do turn to somebody new, it's almost like starting over, and you never know what you're going to get with that. So right now they're rolling 4-2. They looked a lot better than they did the first couple of weeks. So, we'll see.
All right. Number Sorry, cut you off. We're cutting short on time here. Number 7, Texas A&M Aggies with a 4-1 record. Punt or go for it?
Looking real good. One of the top teams in the SEC, but never gets spoken on. But other than that, punt.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go for it just to talk real briefly because I know we're up against the time, is that they have looked way better than they did early. And, we were even kind of talking about they might be like maybe a bad hire in Jimbo, and now they look like they've turned it around and righted the ship. So looks good. I can't wait to see them play Bama. So,
all right, the number 2 Alabama Crimson Tide 6-0. Punt or go for it?
Go for it in a sense. Definitely one of the dominant teams. Top 2-3 teams, and the going to be in the playoffs once again. Kind of turned it around from last year. So they're being Alabama.
Yeah. They've got so much talent on the roster. It'd be hard for them to lose 2 games, much less 1 game. So, other way around. But I don't know who's gonna challenge them now.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the East. The only team without a win in the conference, the Vanderbilt Commodores, 0-4.
Let's go for it. That's my new team.
Go Doors!
I'm dumping Michigan.
Hey man, when we did the Vanderbilt video, there were fans, believe it or not, that were messaging us, telling us that we didn't give them enough respect and how they were fans and all that.
Yeah.
I had to respond. It's like, it's not that we're dissing you. We're just telling it how it is. Vanderbilt's just
leave my team alone.
So, don't take it personally.
I'm taking it against you. Vanderbilt's just not a good team. Punt.
Go
ahead.
Okay. Kentucky Wildcats 2-4. Punt or go for it?
Fuck Kentucky.
Punt.
Okay. South Carolina Chicken Tendies. I can't say the other word.
They seem like a team that you don't want to play in the SEC right now. They had it up and down, but other than that, punt.
Check it out. Their points for and points against are 146 and 150. Only a 4-point differential.
Nice.
That's wild. Okay. Missouri Tigers. Punt or go for it?
I always have respect for the Missouri Tigers. I like that team. If there was an SEC team I could like, it would be them. I think they like their school. But anyway, other than that, punt.
Tennessee Volunteers sitting at 2-3. Punt or go for it?
Go for it in a sense. Their quarterback needs to change. They need to do something there. I'm very disappointed in that quarterback play, and very disappointed that they haven't even tried to change anything about that quarterback. Other than that, that's it.
Yeah, we don't have enough time to really go into it. So in essence, it's a punt. But I agree. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of potential on the team. There's a lot of freshmen that should be getting time that's not. And every week I can speak for every Tennessee fan where we don't go into it super excited. We go into it with a sense of dread because that's where we're at as a program.
All right, the number 8 Florida Gators coming out of their fisticuffs match and their COVID bye weeks and whatnot, sitting at 3-1.
I'm gonna go for it. I think they started out sluggish, but they came out with a bang after that. They were playing pretty dominant. Could be one of the top teams in the SEC from what I'm noticing from the outside.
Well, this upcoming week is definitely the week to do it. They're going up against Georgia. If they have to win this game to win the East. They've got a ton of COVID things going on. They're breaking out in the brawls. It's definitely Florida, a team I do not like. But we'll see if they can get it done. It's definitely one of the games I'm going to watch this week, an important game when it comes down to SEC football.
Speaking of the cocktail, our final team is, of course, my number 5, Georgia Bulldogs, sitting at 4-1 with a loss to Alabama.
Georgia Bulldogs, go for it. Let me say that. Definitely one of the dominant teams in the SEC. So right now they're surrounded by a good 5 or 6 teams that could easily, let's say, fight for that number 2 spot. I don't think the number 1 spot is the number 2 spot, and they are one of them definitely.
Yeah, go for it. I'm really worried about your Bulldogs, Andrew, in this game specifically. Defense is really good. They've been basically carrying you. The offense has not looked fantastic.
Exactly.
And your best player on defense, arguably, it's probably Ojolari at this point, honestly, is Richard LeCount. And he had that wreck, and he is not playing in this game, which really sucks. It's a non-football injury, and you never want to see an injury, especially that kind. And that's where Florida's good. They're good throwing the football. So I hope Ojulari can pick it up for you guys. I'll be rooting for the Bulldogs. I'm not a Florida guy, but I'll definitely be watching the game. It has huge implications, and it kind of sucks to see that kind of put such a big impact on that game. But
yeah, we've got two defensive linemen who were injured in the game against Kentucky last week. So we're going to have an effective pass rush from these young guys coming in, and we're going to have to bring pressure from linebackers because like I said earlier when I was talking about offense versus defense, you just can't cover on an island for 5-6 seconds at a time. You have to get at the quarterback. So attacking Kyle Trask is going to be the way to beat the Gators. And little mini-me Stetson Bennett, as long as he don't get any passes batted down, my God, where's JT Daniels? Come on, we're ready. Where's JT Daniels?
need something. Need something to happen for the offense. If the offense comes out and figures it out, or Georgia's going to be a very dangerous team. But until then, they've got some weaknesses, especially when they got players out, which sucks. So.
All right, guys. Well, I've had a lot of fun with this. I know you have too, and this is our college edition. Questions, concerns, write us, hit us up. We're going to be looking for some royalties for Jeremy's advertisement. But until then, go for 3.
Go for 3. Follow us on YouTube.